Jamila Rizvi and Rosie Waterland are two of the most well-loved names in TV and podcasting. For more than a decade, they have been on separate missions. Jamila for equality.
Women earn less, we are heard less, and we are hurt more.
And Rosie for side-splitting laughs.
I'm thrilled anybody believes I'm smart, funny, or even have a soul.
And while the pair has worked together before...
What up? What up? We are in the opposition leaders' court, yeah.
Doing serious political journalism.
They've now joined forces on a very different project, the story of two broken brains.
We have so much to say.
Jamila, whose life changed forever, diagnosed with a rare brain tumour at 31.
About 5 or 6 weeks ago, I was diagnosed with a brain tumour, which was a massive, massive shock.
And Rosie, facing ongoing mental trauma after a childhood of constant abuse.
My mum was an alcoholic with bipolar disorder. My dad was an alcoholic with schizophrenia. Both of them also dabbled in drug use and experimented just a little with abandoning their children.
Broken Brains is a brutal, honest and sometimes funny read for anyone who's been sick or loved someone who was.
Would you please welcome Rosie Waterland and Jamila Rizvi? Nice to have you both here, and congrats on the book. We should tease out, you both have broken brains, but actually in quite different ways.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think it's probably worth explaining.
Yeah, of course. So I was diagnosed almost 8 years ago now with a rare form of brain tumour called a craniopharyngioma, which means I had to learn to spell it as well as figure out what it was, which was challenging. And I've had a bunch of brain surgeries and radiation, which means that I now have a lot of acquired brain injuries as a result.
Yeah.
I had a very difficult childhood. There was a lot of abuse and neglect from my parents and other people in the system, and that led to pretty significant symptoms of PTSD and trauma from about the time I was 17, I would say.
Now, you've been living these parallel experiences, but where do the experiences cross?
Yeah, well, they crossed over at a really significant point, I suppose. It was after my first brain surgery, and I went into that kind of thinking I was going to be one and done. Like, we'll do that and then I don't need to worry about that anymore. Once I realised that wasn't going to be the case, my mental health took a real hit, and I went to Rosie, who's a dear friend, for help. She was at that time in psychiatric care herself, and we sat down to start to talk about it. And one of the things we realised really quickly was that our conditions have the same mortality rate.
Oh, wow.
And yet when we compared how my community, my friends, my family have responded to me being unwell, which has been incredible, and the way Rosie has not received the same support, no one's, making her a casserole, and looking after her in the same way, we sort of thought there's a story here in how our community and people respond differently to what is a similar scary thing.
So why do you think that is? Is it because you having a physical, brain injury is something that people can relate to and empathise with, whereas you having that mental health struggle is not?
Yeah, one of the first things I say in the book, the very first thing I say in the book is I need to admit this up front, that I sometimes wish I had a brain tumour like Jamila, even though I felt quite ashamed to admit that, and a few people told me who read early drafts to take it out of the book, because I said I sometimes really wish I had something I could point to on a scan like she does, something I could say that's the thing that is wrong with me, because my thing is a lot harder for people to understand. I think because society teaches us to treat these things differently. We all have prejudices about mental health, myself included. I mean, there are even times I've been dealing with my symptoms for, almost 20 years now. There are even times I think that maybe it's more of a choice. Maybe I could just pull myself out of it. Like, Jamila has a tumour, she can't change that. Like, come on, Rosie, just go for a walk in the sunshine, like everyone says. But one of the interesting things we realised while writing the book, we really thought going into it, Jamila would cover the physical, I would cover the mental, and that there'd be no crossover. We'd each represent each side. But revealing a lot of the stories we did to each other while writing this helped us realise that they're so interconnected.
Yeah.
The physical is mental, the mental is physical. I have a lot more physical symptoms in my brain that I do. If you looked at a scan, you could see differences in my brain because of the trauma I've gone through. And Jamila's had very significant mental health issues because of the trauma of her illness. Yeah. So you can't really split them.
No. You've spoken to over 40 experts as well as survivors. What do you want people to take away from this book?
One of the things that I have found when I've talked to other people who've been unwell is that it is really, really lonely. And regardless of the kind of illness you're going through, a chronic illness, a serious illness that requires surgery, a mental health issue, you often feel incredibly alone. So I think the first thing we want is to help people feel seen and feel like they're not the only one. And when you're sick, that's what you want. That's all I was looking for. But the other people who struggle are the ones who want to help. And I was surrounded by friends and family who were like, I just want to help, but I don't really know how. And this book tells you how, right? Down to the fact that, you know, in the early stages of my illness, all my female friends were amazing. Like, they were amazing. And a lot of my male friends, I think, struggled a bit. They weren't quite sure what to do. They kind of went flowers and talking and food. I don't know if that's my department. But in radiation, a friend made a roster of who would drive me. And my male friends, they were like, I am here and I will drive her to and from. But it was amazing. People want to help. And so I think we've tried to help people be able to help.
Yeah. What a great idea. For details on how you can get hold of a copy of Broken Brains, that's the book there, head to our website. In the meantime, would you please thank Jamila Rizvi and Rosie Waterland?